Hello and welcome to yet another session. Today we talk about intermediaries, arrangement of funds and project management. In this session we are going to talk about the role, meaning and growth of the services of merchant banking. Let us start our discussion with the meaning of merchant banking and investment banking. Beginning with the meaning of merchant banking. The dictionary meaning of merchant banking refers to an organization that underwrites corporate securities and advises such clients on issues like corporate mergers, etc., involved in the ownership of commercial ventures. This organization can be a bank, corporate body, firm, or proprietary concern. Now the meaning of investment banking. A specific division of banking related to the creation of capital for other companies. Investment banks underwrite new debt and equity securities for all types of corporations. Investment banks also provide guidance to issuers regarding the issue and placement of stock. As per Securities and Exchange Board of India, that is SEBI, any person who is engaged in the business of issue management, either by making arrangements regarding selling, buying or subscribing of securities as manager, consultant, advisor or rendering corporate advisory service in relation to such issue management is merchant banker. Thus, a merchant bank is an institution or an organization who supply financial services like management of security issues, portfolio services, underwriting of capital issues, insurance, credit syndication, financial services related advices, project counseling, etc. From this discussion, it would be easy to draw a demarking line between commercial bank and a merchant bank services. Services offered through the merchant banks with a prescribed rate of fee, while commercial banks accept deposits and grant loans if any individual holds an account with the bank. No special charges levied on them for providing or offering such services are taken. Now, this is the main distinction between both service provider to the different parties and the merchant banks do not act as depositories for savings of the individuals. Now, let us discuss functions performed by the merchant banks. In recent time, where service marketing also face tough competition, it is essential for merchant bankers to adopt systemized marketing efforts. To explore their market, merchant banker has to adopt marketing of newly issued corporate and other securities services. Now, they are required to take up some allied functions also. Such steps are considering as systemized system by merchant banker to explore their market and providing qualitative services to the needy. A merchant bank performs various functions. Let us take a look at them. The first one being promotional activities. In developing nation, to provide money for creativity is a challenging task. A merchant banker has to provide a ground to the innovators with respect to develop new idea, identifying their project, providing them mindstorming to improve their thought process, study and identifying feasibility of their project, helping the entrepreneur in conceiving an idea, identification of projects, preparing feasibility reports, obtaining government approvals and incentives, etc. Some of the merchant banks also provide assistance for technical and financial collaborations and joint ventures if the creator needs them. The second one is the issue management. traditional aspect of merchant banker was to be associated with only IPO, that is initial public offering. Merchant bankers provide new issue of the securities related services as per recommendation of the Securities and Exchange Board of India, that is SEBI, and also provide services for marketing of securities. On behalf of the company, merchant banker prepares prospectus for the proposed public issue, manages to get the issue sanctioned by SEBI, underwrites agreements and appointments of other intermediaries like registrars, brokers and bankers to the issue. Also makes arrangements for publicity and compliance of listing requirements of the stock exchanges, etc. In this way, they act not as a service provider, but act as service facilitator as per the need of the company. Now, merchant bankers act as not only as experts, but also provide in-depth knowledge to the companies for the type, timing and terms of issues of corporate securities and make them acceptable for the investors on the one hand, and also provide flexibility and freedom to the issuing companies on the other hand. The third one being credit syndication. Syndication means temporary basis professional service provider formed a group with the intention to handle large scale of financial transaction that would not be possible for any individual or entity to handle. Merchant banks provide such financial services as per the need of different related parties in preparation of project, loan applications for raising short-term as well as long-term credit from various bank and financial institutions, etc. They also manage euro issues and helping in raising funds abroad for global markets too. Now look at portfolio management. Portfolio management is combination of an arts and science of making sound investment mix decision which is relating to matching investments to objectives, asset allocation for individual entity or institutions and balancing risk against performance of investment instrument. Merchant banks offer services not only to the companies but also provide services to the security issuing companies and to the investors. They advise their clients, mostly institutional investors, regarding investment decisions, investment mix decision, balancing risk, etc. Now, merchant bankers even undertake the occupation of purchase and sale of securities on behalf of their clients so as to provide them portfolio management services. Some merchant bankers are operating mutual funds and offshore funds too. The next and the fifth one, leasing and finance. To explore market share, many merchant bankers provide leasing and finance facilities to their customers. Some of them even associated with venture capital funds to assist the entrepreneurs. They also help companies in raising finance by way of public deposits. The sixth one being servicing of issues. In variety of services, merchant banks also started to act as agents. As a paying agent, merchant bankers focus on the service of debt securities and to act as registrars and transfer agents. They maintain the registers of shareholders and debenture holders and arrange to pay dividends or interest as a part of their function. Let us now look at the other specialized services. Merchant bankers are providing corporate advisory services to the financial institutions. In corporate advisory services, services related to the marketing of securities, merchant banks also offer corporate advisory service on the issues like mergers and amalgamations, tax matters, recruitment of executives, and cost management, audit, etc. Merchant bankers have also established making of bought out deals of shares and debentures. Do you know what the role of merchant bank as an intermediaries in the project management is? Merchant bankers play an important role in the project management by providing varieties of services. Merchant bankers help entrepreneurs in selection of location of the project, preparing project report on behalf of their clients. They also carry out economic, technical and financial feasibility of the proposed project. Once the project is selected for implementation, merchant bankers also help to arrange funds from various sources. They also have full knowledge of government incentives and their rules and regulations. Merchant bankers also help entrepreneurs to take advantages of such incentives and tax concessions offered by the government. Merchant bankers also offer their expert advice on amalgamations, mergers, acquisitions, takeovers, foreign collaborations, diversification of business, technology upgradation, joint ventures, etc. A merchant banker provides specialized services from idea development stage in the stages of preparation of a project, the loan applications required for the raising of short-term and long-term credit from various banks and financial institutions, etc. They also help in managing euro issues to Indian companies for raising funds from overseas capital markets. A merchant banker completes all formalities on behalf of his client in seeking government permission to expand and modernize business. Merchant banker advises entrepreneurs and small companies on availability and existence of business opportunities, government concessions, incentives and policies, and helps them to take advantage of resources available to them to the best of their capabilities. Now, let us discuss growth story and rise of merchant banking in India. Developing nations like India need large-scale specialized merchant banking services for rapid growth. Due to this, many new entities got a change for business and also were able to enter into the primary market. Let us reflect on the inception of merchant banking services. It was started by foreign bank, namely the National Grindlays Bank in 1967 and later on by the Citibank in 1970. In 1972, the report submitted by the Banking Commission recommended the setting up of the merchant banking institutions. This led to the beginning of specialized merchant banking in India. Traditional aspect of merchant banking services was limited to the initial public offering, that is the IPO. In the mid-80s, the Banking Regulation Act was amended, permitting commercial banks to offer financial services related to project appraisal and merchant banking through the subsidy rule. Consequently, the State Bank of India was the first Indian bank to set up merchant banking division in 1972. Other banks like ICICI, Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, Canara Bank, Punjab National Bank and UCO Bank set up their merchant banking division. The merchant banking gained prominence during 1983-84 due to increased new issues in Indian capital market. All India foreign banks like Citibank, Standard Chartered Bank also started merchant banking operations, and subsequently other banks also started services of merchant banking. In India, investment banking started off in 1972 in a limited way. It gained recognition as an organized industry only in the 80s with the setting up of SBI Capital Markets Limited in 1986. In Indian financial term, merchant banking and investment banking is utilized on a wider scale. Merchant banking is defined as the activity of management of public offers which is licensed and regulated under the law. Investment banking refers to services in other areas primarily dealing with corporate finance and advisory, private equity and M&A. Many investment banks that are also in merchant banking refer to themselves as full service investment banks. There is a Merchant Banking Industry Association in India named as AMBI, Association of Merchant Bankers of India. Indian banks like SBI, ICICI, Kotak and IDBI and HDFC are present in all segments of universal banking by offering their services as merchant bankers both in India as well as globally. Kotak Mahindra Group is the only universal bank in India in the global sense of the word, a commercial bank and investment bank. Pure investment banks in India are DSPML, presently owned entirely by Merrill Lynch, Bank of America, and JM, owned by Morgan Stanley joint venture. Here it is very important to note that recognition of SEBI is mandatory for merchant banks to work as lead manager in a public issue and for providing any kind of services in the capital market. Merchant banks in India are regulated under Securities and Exchange Board of India for the Merchant Bankers Regulation, which was formulated in 1992. Merchant bankers extend various services for project management in India, which can be enumerated as in issue management, lead manager or co-manager has to involve a host of services like preparation of draft prospectus, appointment of other intermediaries for the issue and coordination of all their activities, etc. Next, in the underwriting services, the lead manager has to accept voluntarily a part of the agreement with the company assigned to him. Also, the company needs appraisal of projects as well as economical, technical and financial feasibility studies before the implementation of a project. The company may appoint merchant banker to complete such formalities and report the company. Corporate counseling and reporting. This includes counseling a financial structure, operational efficiency or assist a sick unit with a package of solutions or render technical advice. Some merchant banking units like Can Bank, Financial Services and Ind Bank Financial Services have also membership of stock exchanges, sponsorship of OTCEI and incidental activities like investment advice, counseling, brokerage and dealership in stock market etc. are also performed by them. In merger and acquisition, merchant banker has to maintain agreement terms of mergers and acquisitions, revaluation of assets and valuations of shares etc. In IPO, has to arrange appointment of underwriters or sub-underwriters, brokers and sub-brokers, printing of application forms and other necessary material, publishing and advertising, appointment of registrars and coordination of all activities related to public issue. Post-issue services like listing arrangements, coordination with SEBI and stock exchanges also are done by them. Now, loan syndication for arranging loans from banks, financial institutions and preparing necessary papers and doing the necessary spade work for flotation of commercial paper and money market operations, operation of PSU bonds, UTI units, government securities, etc. We will now discuss about the impact of the subprime crisis on merchant and investment banks. Following various scams in Indian capital market and subprime crisis, Reserve Bank of India redrafted their own banking policies for lending money and new grills set for financial lending market. In the year 2000, Badla system was targeted and loopholes of the system gave disaster. 700 points fall down shook the share market investors. Their modus operandi needs government control, which will ensure a large-scale investor security. Merchant banking firms in India are regulated by the SEBI Act 1992, under which SEBI is conferred power to supervise and control the affairs of merchant bankers. Guidelines are issued by SEBI from time to regulate services of merchant bankers in the interest of capital market at large. SEBI has issued extensive guidelines on merchant banking and the merchant bankers have to abide by these guidelines. Only those merchant bankers who have registered with SEBI are entitled to participate in public issue of shares. It is time to conclude today's session. To summarize, in this session we discussed the concept of merchant banking and investment banking, how SEBI and RBI authenticated financial services through different financial institutions was also discussed. In this discussion, how control functions are performed by them, growth and performance of merchant banks and the impact of the subprime crisis on merchant and investment banks in India has been scrutinized. Credit syndication, portfolio management and its need in recent times was also discussed in detail. IPO management and its impact of project on any institution was covered. With discussion, your conceptual clarity with regards to portfolio and the need for such authenticated services was explained. Merchant banking scenario and its impact on the different segment has been discussed and understood in the session. With this, we wrap up this session. Thank you so much. Badla system